Hey, it's Molly. Welcome back to my channel as we're going to discuss Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn retrograde in Pisces on August 19th. August 19th has crazy energy for the Aquarius full moon. Jupiter gets to 17 degrees of Gemini. Saturn is here at 17 degrees of Pisces. August 16th to August 24th is when both of the planets are at 17 degrees. Now, before we dive into this though, we need to reference some important things about this story, which is the story of Jupiter and Saturn, who had their latest great conjunction back in December 2020 when they were both at 0 degrees Aquarius. Well, look who's in town now at that exact location of the Great Conjunction. So when Jupiter and Saturn were here together, they were beginning a new cycle together. They are in a conjunction about every 20 years. And it was at the very beginning of Aquarius, a new dream, a new vision, new hopes. What can we create together? And then Pluto moves into town at that exact same degree point and reveals what is not ready. Pluto will bring a death and destruction. The future developments happening rapidly, quickly. It's not linear. It happens in ways that we can't plan. The power of the future, how rapidly we're accelerating, evolving. Pluto is basically tearing down what Jupiter and Saturn were focused on together back in late 2020. Again, that was December 2020, which could feel like an eternity ago, as well as a blink of an eye. And that is, in fact, a great way to sum up the Aquarius energy, where we are out of the time-space continuum. The world is changing deeply. And this Pluto conjunct this degree point is important for the story that is continuing now. Now, you also recall that earlier in 2024, Jupiter was conjunct Uranus. Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius, and Saturn is the other ruler of Aquarius. Pisces ruled by Neptune in Pisces. And so after that conjunction, Jupiter moved into Gemini, furthest from its home sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So Jupiter over here in Gemini is debilitated, it's weakened, it's wanting all of this information, wisdom, understanding, knowledge to fit into the Gemini daily understandings, perceptions, and routines. Too big for its britches, making a lot of assumptions out of bits of information and knowledge. Jupiter is what we're learning, how we're gaining wisdom, what we're understanding, what we are believing in, where we're finding hope in the fast-moving changes, into the new places that this planet is going, that we can't even conceive. Jupiter in Gemini can be a big thinker, but in Gemini, it's not only about what you're thinking, it's the questions you're asking. Data, details, feedback. And that's something that the Jupiter can struggle with, but is learning. And Gemini is about learning. Both of these, Gemini and Pisces, represent duality. Gemini, it's two choices, the left brain, the right brain, the different sides of a conversation. Talking and listening, giving and receiving, learning and teaching. And in Pisces, the energy is between the human energy and the spiritual. A healthy form of escapism, if you will, a sense of returning to the bigger picture and allowing that to guide us forward. Opening square, and opening square is when they have their first square after their conjunction, Saturn. Saturn is focused on the endings, the closures, completions, and what's phasing out over the last 30 years. And Saturn takes this responsibility seriously, brings your attention to what you have outgrown, what you don't need, what is no longer an energetic fit, and asks you to also maintain. There's like a maintenance energy here with Saturn where don't get lost in any disillusionment or in the abyss. Rather, stabilize yourself with everything swirling around and allow that to be your guiding force. Saturn retrograde being internal, more reflective, reviewing, contemplative. What did I learn here? What am I spiritually advancing? What am I understanding is karmically closing for me? And then you bring in the hope and optimism of Jupiter, which has a lot of ideas in Gemini, a lot of things. Let's just try it. Let's just try it for a bit and see what happens. Let's see where this goes. Why not? Why not? Ideas, plans, possibilities is fast moving. The opening square is a testing square from Saturn that is stronger, even though Saturn is retrograde. Saturn shakes his head and says, no, it's not worth it. We don't have the time. I don't think it's a good use of your energy. Let's just take a minute and pull back our energy, focus on solitude and quiet. This is the Saturn that wants less. Let me focus on what I need to get done, and I don't want distractions. And there's a lot of chatter. Because of this Jupiter conjunct Mars, revving his engine outside on the street, action, Gemini, which is no, let's go. Why aren't we there yet? Very impatient Mars. And with Jupiter makes it bigger, louder, screeching, doing donuts in the parking lot, spinning in circles, doesn't sit still. This is the part of you that is energetically very alive. A lot of ideas. And then it's meeting up with Saturn that says no. And Saturn being retrograde isn't going to be a loud, definitive no. It's sort of like Saturn shakes his head no. Gemini's like, never mind, I'm not listening to you. Goes ahead and does it. And then something doesn't happen. So it's almost like this is a softer Saturn that's saying no. And then a louder Gemini that can be rebellious and inconsistent. Impatience here, not listening, gonna do it anyways. And so if you have planets or points at 17, 18 degrees of the mutable signs, this could be learning something the hard way. This is a testing square that is testing your logic and rationale and reasoning, which has a lot of energy to it. And it could feel defeating and discouraging. You're like, I've already made the reservations. And what Saturn is trying to show this Jupiter, Gemini's a sprinter. Saturn is always about the timing. And Saturn is basically saying, do less, choose less, focus, watch where you're distracted or overcommitted. Like there's a lot of mental energy here. There's a lot spinning. If I don't do it now, it's not going to happen. If I don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. I've got a lot here in my head. So write it out, talk it out, move the energy, which is what Mars requires. You know, do your burpees, whatever you got to do. But Saturn is reminding you there's a bigger timing involved that you can't see yet. Do not attach to one particular outcome. Do not get locked in to one thing being an absolute. And then here comes the mind and the body, revving it up. Venus and Virgo, creating this T-square. And I'll have a second video for you discussing that more. They're going to have another square in December where Jupiter's retrograde and Saturn is direct. That will be in late December. It's December 24th at 14 degrees, where the second opening square comes up. and continues the conversation, where the Gemini and Pisces areas of your chart are just going to feel unsettled. So keep it open, because that's what's going to be required anyways. This square, the opening square between Jupiter and Saturn, is the dominant energy that picks up where they had their last great conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Choices are to be made, but they won't be settled on in August 2024, and they're going to change again as we close out the year. So the name of the game is flexibility and adaptability, keeping your spirits high.